Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Israeli government spokesman Avi Hyman. Today is day 220 of the October 7th war. 220 days on, our war aims remain the same. Destroy Hamas, bring home the hostages, and ensure that Gaza never again poses a threat to Israel. Today is also Yom HaZikaron, Israel's Memorial Day, the annual commemoration of our fallen soldiers and the victims of Palestinian terror. This day comes every year, but this year it is especially difficult as we continue to wage our war against Hamas following the unimaginable atrocities of October 7th. I will start today with an update on casualties. IDF fatalities since the start of the October 7th massacre have unfortunately risen to 620. Staff Sergeant Chaim Sebach, 20 years old, from Holon, fell defending northern Israel from Hezbollah. Sergeant Itai Livni was 19 from Ramat Sharon and was killed in battle in northern Gaza. Sergeant Yosef Dassa was 19 from Kiryat Bialik and was killed in battle in northern Gaza. Sergeant Daniel Levy was 19 from Kiryat Motzkin and fell in battle also in the north of Gaza. Staff Sergeant Ariel Tzim was 20 from Modi'in and fell in battle in northern Gaza. I also want to pay tribute to police anti-terror specialist Chief Inspector Yitav Lev Halevi, who was 28 and fell fighting Hamas terrorists near Tulkarem. Today and over the last few days, the Prime Minister met with bereaved families of soldiers where he heard their stories and embraced their family members. As the Prime Minister told members of the IDF Widows and Orphans organization, quote, "There are stories of great heroism here. It is not just thousands of people who have been saved by these fallen soldiers. It is the state of Israel that owes our fallen soldiers its existence. This is more than just a phrase or mere words. May their memories be a blessing forever." I would now like to take on the issue of civilian casualties. From day one in this war, Hamas has provided statistics to global media who have copied and pasted them as if they were coming from a reliable source. Despite our protest, this has continued for nearly 8 months, and it spits in the face of our brave heroes who have paid the ultimate price to fight this just and moral war. It's time to put this to bed. On Friday, Prime Minister Netanyahu revealed our government's assessment on the current civilian casualty figures in the ongoing war. For the first time in public, the Prime Minister said, "We believe we have killed in excess of 14,000 terrorists, and sadly, around 16,000 civilians." We would expect everyone to now take these figures as a genuine estimate from a free democratic country that fights in strict accordance with the laws of armed conflict in one of the most challenging urban warfare scenarios in history. Let me make it clear, every civilian casualty is a tragedy. That would not have happened if Hamas hadn't insisted on using their own people as human shields. Unlike Hamas, we don't run to the media with numbers. It's virtually impossible to provide exact figures during an ongoing war. As UN spokesman Farhan Haq said yesterday at a press conference, "In the fog of war, it's difficult to come up with numbers," after being asked why the United Nations had suddenly halved the number of children allegedly killed in Gaza. Next, on COGAT, which coordinates entry of aid into Gaza, While Hamas has been shelling the Kerem Shalom crossing from Rafah, we continue to significantly increase the amount of humanitarian aid going into Gaza from Kerem Shalom and elsewhere. Before the shelling, the issue was never getting aid into Gaza, but getting aid around Gaza to those that need it before it was stolen by Hamas. Since the start of the war, almost 28,000 trucks worth of aid have gone into Gaza. That's more than 530,000 tons of aid. That's more than 388,000 tons of food, 34,000 tons of water, 23,000 tons of medical equipment and hygiene products. As far as shelter is concerned, over 4,182 trucks of shelter equipment, which included tents, have entered. The latest highlights on aid are Kerem Shalom has reopened in the last 24 hours. 7 tankers carrying 266,000 litres of fuel were transferred to Gaza through the Kerem Shalom crossing. This fuel is designed for essential requirements like hospitals, humanitarian areas, logistical centres, and aid distribution. Also, the new Western Erez crossing was opened in northern Gaza to get more aid in coordination with the United States to support northern Gaza in particular. Dozens of World Food Programme trucks of flour went in through the port of Ashdod. In fact, 87% of all United Nations coordination requests for aid distribution have been approved. In addition to the existing hospital, 8 operational field hospitals are up and running, with 1 under construction. The Deir el-Balah Hospital. We are working with international organizations to ensure supply for hospitals north and south. 26 Gazan bakeries provide 5 million bread rolls and pita breads daily. The northern water pipeline from Israel and Bani Sohela line are now fully operational. As usual, the daily IDF pause between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. in Al-Amal neighborhood in Khan Yunis facilitates the movement of humanitarian aid. Okay, that's the end of our briefing for today. I'd ask that you put your name and questions in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you. Question from Jill Pollack at Breitbart News. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken told CBS News on Sunday that a State Department report had found that it was reasonable to assess that in certain instances, Israel acted in ways that are not consistent with international humanitarian law. But the report found that there was insufficient evidence to draw that conclusion in any particular case. What is Israel's response to the report and to Blinken's public statements?
Israel adheres to international humanitarian law. Israel adheres to the laws of armed conflict. Our fight is with Hamas and not the people of Gaza. We do our absolute utmost to avoid civilian casualties while going after Hamas, which must be destroyed. Any suggestion that Israel is not working within accordance with international law has clearly not been proven. And we will continue to fight the moral fight against Hamas in Gaza.
Thank you. Question from Jody Cohen at World is One News. Many commentators are suggesting that the public vote for Israeli contestant Eden Golan in the Eurovision Song Contest suggests that public support is with Israel in its war with Hamas. What's Israel's response in the face of protests against Israel?
Eden Golan is a national hero. It seems a bit strange to be talking about her at a time when we're waging a war in Gaza against Hamas. but I'll say that she is a national hero. The welcome that she got in Malmö was awful, and the old Scrooge of anti-Semitism is clearly alive and well in much of Europe and must be condemned. But she took that beautiful song of hope, of continuity, of strength to Europe. She stood strong and held our flag high. And that's what we will do as a nation. And we believe, just like what we saw on Saturday at the Eurovision, just as we saw that the majority of the people were with us, whereas certain elites decided to side with the genocidal terrorist organization Hamas, we believe that is the case in the world. The majority of sane, educated people stand with Israel in our just and moral fight to destroy Hamas, bring home the hostages, and ensure that Gaza doesn't pose a threat to us.
Thank you. Question from Jim Williams at Zenga International News Service, Washington, D.C. Yesterday, Secretary Blinken appeared on NBC and said, quote, that while the US and Israel may differ over Rafah at this moment, we continue to work together each day and we remain committed to Israel. It would be unwise for Hamas or any of the Iranian proxies to test that commitment, end quote. Does the Prime Minister agree with Secretary Blinken?
Our relations with the United States of America are ironclad, as the President recently reiterated. Our mission to destroy Hamas is ironclad. We will continue on with the missions of the war to destroy Hamas, bring home the hostages, and ensure that Gaza doesn't pose a threat to us. We believe that the Americans are on the same page with us as far as the war aims are concerned. We are working closely with them. But let's make it clear, if we don't destroy the last 4 battalions of Hamas in Rafah, we will have lost the war. If we agree to any type of ceasefire that leaves Hamas in power, Hamas will simply rearm, retake the area, and do what they dream to do and what they've said they intend to do, which is perpetrate October 7th again and again and again. We won't allow that to happen. So we stand with the Americans. We've had agreements and disagreements in the past with the Americans. We hope that any daylight will be closed very quickly and will be taken care of behind closed doors. Thank you.
Thank you. That's the last question.
Thank you very much. I'd like to wish you all a happy Independence Day for tonight, and we will see you shortly. Thank you.